And speaking of Franciscans, Father Dan Horan is with us, a Franciscan friar, an author, a speaker, a doctoral student at Boston College, and a columnist. He joins us today to discuss his book, The Franciscan Heart of Thomas Merton. Father Dan, thanks so much for being with us.
It's great to be with you. Thanks for the invitation.
This was fantastic. You know, I'm very curious, as I mentioned before, how can a man who was a Trappist have the heart of a Franciscan?
That's a great question. I mean, it seems kind of contradictory at first, doesn't it?
It does.
You know, it's like saying, you know, how would Cardinal Sean be a Dominican or something? Does he? No, he never would be, of course. I mean, he's a good Franciscan. But Thomas Merton, when he first was discerning a vocational call, he understood that God was leading him to some sort of religious life, to ordained ministry. He first discerned the call in terms of a Franciscan vocation. That didn't work out, but he was introduced to the Franciscan spirituality, to Franciscan theology and writings, loved St. Francis of Assisi with personal devotion, and that stayed with him his whole life.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
could talk a little bit, too, if you could, about Merton's understanding of peacemaking and also the Christian vocation.
Yeah, so that's really, really key. You know, as many of the viewers may know, and you probably know as well, he wrote a lot in the 1960s during a really tumultuous time here in the U.S. and around the world about really important issues like civil rights and violence and peacemaking. And one of the things that he really contributed in his own writing and speaking out against these injustices was this call that all people, not just Christians, not just Catholics, not just religious, but all people have an inherent vocation to be peacemakers. And this is one of the things he believed the gospel shows us. He looked at the famous encyclical by John the 23rd in the early 60s called Pacem in Terris, where Pope John was addressing some of these urgent crises of the world. And one of the things Thomas Merton points out about that encyclical is that this is a really Franciscan kind of peacemaking call. There's an element of the Franciscan spirit in Pope John the 23rd's writing. And so he draws from that and says, you know what, it's not just something for one person or this person or a choice really, but if you're baptized, if you're even a human being, deep down in our core, what we're supposed to be are peacemakers, reconcilers. And anyone familiar with the peace prayer attributed to St. Francis, you know, in that spirit realizes that this is something we're all called to do.
My mother's favorite prayer, by the way, the prayer of St. Francis. And I think we all are fascinated with what is at the core of Franciscan spirituality. I mean, even our Pope, as a Jesuit, took the name Francis.
Right.
And rightly so, that we should be fascinated with it. But yet, Thomas Merton chose to be a Trappist and live the life of a Trappist. Why was it that he chose the Trappists and not the Franciscans, do you think?
So that's an excellent insight. And I think looking to somebody like Pope Francis in this age, who is a Jesuit through and through, I mean, that's his training, his life, his formation, but sees in you know, the model of Francis of Assisi, the core of gospel life, we see something very similar in the life of Thomas Merton. He was somebody who was restless in his vocation and following in the footprints of Christ, but he saw that restlessness calling him to solitude and contemplation, something he really desired. And we Franciscans, as Cardinal Sean can attest, and those of us of the three first orders can make clear, we're to be in the world. Francis of Assisi said, "The whole world is my cloister." And so Thomas Merton, who had this call to contemplation and solitude, found that in monastic life, but could still live out that gospel-living Franciscan spirit as well.
And you talking about the world too, but if you could expand on that, to talk about the relevance of Thomas Merton, St. Francis's message in today's world.
Yeah. I mean, it's so pressing. And on one hand, Thomas Merton's wisdom and the Franciscan spiritual and theological tradition that so informed him and inspired him is still very, very relevant today. On the other hand, it's unfortunate that it is, because issues like environmental crises or climate change, issues like violence, injustice, these things, poverty, continue to affect us. And so, when Merton presents to us some of these insights that he gleans from the Franciscan tradition and continues to write and talk about throughout his lifetime, they continue to speak to us today, inspire us to go out and change the world, to be Christian women and men who take the gospel seriously, not unlike the message that Pope Francis is sharing with us today.
For those people watching in the Boston area, when I say Arch Street, Arch Street, as we might say, Arch Street, they immediately know. They think of the chapel there and the place where you live, the Franciscan Friary. But the ministry of Arch Street is very much at the heart of Franciscan spirituality in the sense that the world is our cloister.
Oh, that is
Can you
so
tell
true.
us just a little bit about Arch Street? Because some people might
Yeah.
not know about that work.
Yeah, so Arch Street is literally the name of the street on which this chapel used to be called the Workers' Chapel, right in the heart of downtown Crossing, right in the financial district, about 2 blocks from the Common. It's a wonderful ministry. It's been around for about 60 years. In addition to daily masses and availability of the sacrament of penance almost round the clock, there are so many other ministries of outreach to grieving parents who've lost children, healthcare ministry outreach. There's a food pantry there, 20s and 30s, young adults and professionals. So many different things go on. And it is, as you said, Father Reed, really in the Franciscan spirit. We're not off in the side, we're not out in the suburbs, we're right at the heart of the city. And it's a great ministry, great opportunity to be there and to be with the people of God.
Yeah, it's a wonderful location too for people, you know, just to walk in off the street from taking lunch break or anything like that.
Absolutely, always pop in, say a prayer, attend Mass. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, we had a great introduction. Father Reed did the introduction of you when we first started. You have to be so busy. Columnist, author, speaker. Tell people if you can, where can they find out more about you, about the book? Where would they go?
Yeah, a variety of different ways. It's 2015, so and being a young friar, young religious, I'm on social media, so people can find more information at danhoran.com, or they can go to Facebook and it's Dan Horan OFM, or Twitter at Dan Horan OFM.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being with us,
Great.
Father Dan. It was great to have you.
Great to be with you too. Thank you.